I think I was really proud of the verse. It's like she was perfect, dying in a hot tub. I think that shines so bright with her reflection, she starts to bleed. I think that just sounds really cool. That's why I like it. Breathing heavily, and everything starts coming like a lot. So I just sit in that corner and try to get myself out of it. Sometimes it's just like a ringing in my ear, and like I'm gonna pass out because everything starts to become black. This song is about burning out. It's the feeling of like feeling burnt out from like a passion that you've held so dear, and having everybody remind you like how you were before it, and you're still like trying to keep up that appearance, but everybody knows that you're gone. It's done. I think when I was writing that song, I was feeling a little burnt out. And so I figured like why not just like put it in the song, both like finishing my project and like trying to get things started again. I think at that point, like I was still in like online school, so it was still during the pandemic. I didn't really do much, so eventually I just kind of like went into this lull, and any time that there was like a chance to do it again, it just seemed like so much that it started becoming so much heavier than it usually would be. Aku nulisnya 2021, like the last few months of it, I think, yeah. And maybe like a little bit of 2022. Yes. I think it was pretty long. Karena I think I wrote like a verse, and then I just put it to the side, and then I went back to it again. Either. Money. It's somewhere in here. This book is the book that I usually write all my songs in. Oh my god, this is so messy. So messy. I write like because this was like a themed EP, I wrote down like one of the themes that I wanted to write about, and then I wrote like words or like phrases that I thought would like inspire me more to help write the song. And I think the first thing that I wrote was the first verse, which was like, she was perfect, dying in a hot tub. What she held so dear to her heart shined so bright with her reflection, she starts to bleed. She was perfect, dying in a hot tub. I got that inspiration from this one scene in an anime called Perfect Blue. The girl was like in a hot tub, and she was like screaming into the water. I think it like inspired me because it's like, oh, she's still trying to keep trying to do what's now like burning her out, and like she doesn't want anybody to know, so she's just like screaming in the water. She was perfect, dying in a hot tub. What she held. And then what she held so dear to her heart shines so bright with her reflection, she starts to bleed. What she held so dear to her heart is like her passion, this thing that she's loved for years that is now burning her out. And like it's like a metaphor for when it shines so bright with her reflection, it's like a knife to her heart. And if it's like a really clean knife, you could see your reflection in it. And then like since it's like in her heart, she starts to bleed and started to hurt.
So dear to her heart, it shines so bright with her reflection. She starts to bleed.
Anything, it's depending on the listener. When it was really, really during the pandemic, like I couldn't really do my usual lessons, and there wasn't really any chance for me to like, perform, and I didn't really have like the energy to write anything. So and there was like a point in time where I think things started to like pick up again, and like everything's happening again and flowing again. I was kind of having like, oh my god, what if I can't do this? I'm having like a panic attack or something. And it was just like a lot at some point. It's not that. It's just that like maybe, it just sounds like a lot at first. So it just like gets over exaggerated in my head. And so I just start thinking of all like the negative things. I would just go in my room and there's nobody in here, it's just me. And it's like it's usually like night, and then there's always like this corner in my room where I would just like try to calm myself down in. I start like breathing heavily, and everything starts coming like a lot. So I just sit in that corner and try to get myself out of it. Sometimes it's just like a ringing in my ear, and like I'm gonna pass out because everything starts to become black. But in the beginning it wasn't like that severe. It was just like difficulty breathing and just like a little ringing and my heart pounding out of my chest. In the beginning I was just like, oh my god. I was just like, the only thing in my head was just all the negative things, and then just like thinking, and like I just stay in that corner for as long as I need to until it's over with. So I just kind of like go through it and wait it out. Not really, not like I used to. It's only like depending on like circumstances, and not just like at random. So it's just like if something's like really gonna make me panic, I'm just gonna go through that again. Not it wasn't really often. It was mainly like after some lessons, sometimes even in class. The first in-person lesson, like when she started coming to the house, sometimes after I would just like go to my room and have like a little panic attack. It's not like the way she teaches. It's like some of like the things she said afterwards, like, oh, you could do this and that, and you have to do this, and then you're gonna be something like that. Just some things that like that are great, but I internalized it in my head to be something like negative and a lot. So yeah. If it's with like my mom, It's not. It's like just a couple times I think that I can remember. It's mainly when I'm getting like yelled at or when I'm in trouble. That's fine. If I do that, I cross it out. Yeah, jadinya. So when I'm like re-recording it in like voice notes so that I don't forget, I don't like mistake it. Jadinya, I think I can still make it out. It said like, melt, look up at the sky and watch Icarus fall ground. What? Oh, fall. Yeah. I rewrote it because this is like the second verse. And the second verse is like, felt the wax wings burn her skin as they watch her from the ground. And that's like Icarus who flew too close to the sun. But in the beginning, the first lyrics, it was like, I literally mentioned Icarus and I just wanted to be like more metaphorical. Okay. I don't know if this is the first, but this is a verse. It's 21 seconds.
She was perfect, dying in a hot tub. What she held so dear
Smacking.
to her heart.
Ew. Why?
So bright, she starts to bleed.
Usually when I'm writing, I always have this like little playlist of like songs that like are both what I want, sort of how the song to go, and like sort of like in the same meaning of what I want the song to have. So I was probably like listening to one of those songs, and then at some point I'm just like thinking, and then I think the lyric came first, and then when I try to sing it, then the melody comes. But then when I do it over and over again, and I don't have like a second verse or another line, then it's just when the melody starts flowing. The top song that inspired was "Dead" by My Chemical Romance. And the rest is, where is it? Oh, here. And then there's The Pretender, Foo Fighters. Are You Satisfied? And Oh No by Marina.
I want to die. Are you sad?
Tell Me It's Okay, Paramore.
Tell me it's okay to be happy now.
Burnt Out by Dodie.
If she knew she could take it.
My Iron Lung, Radiohead.
Scratch.
And Heart Shaped Box, Nirvana.
Hey, wait.
Felt the wax wings. Oh, I have to sing it. Okay. Felt the wax wings burn her skin as they watch her from the ground. Too far to hear the loud. Smell the smoking in the clear. With a bitter taste, she watches the ground. So felt the wax wings burn her skin. That's nod to Icarus, the boy who flew too close to the sun. And then as they watch her from the ground, it's just the people around her watching her as she burns out. As they watch her from the ground. Too far to hear the loud is like what I said before with the dying in the bathtub. Is she's screaming and in all of this thing, and like nobody can hear her because she's just keeping it to herself, or yeah, like that. And what was it? Felt the wax wings, too far to hear that. Smell the smoke and in the clear, with a bitter taste she watches the ground. That that lyrics, with a bitter taste she watches the ground, is like, after all that, she's just powering through and still trying to do it, but it's just with a bitter taste. So it's not with as much like passion and happiness as she used to. It's just a little bit like more, all right, okay. Just going through it. It's not that much fun anymore. So it's just like bitter.
Remember when, who you were, what you're now. Remember when, who you were, what you're now.
Remember when, who you were, what you're now. I'm not saying that. Remember when, who you were, what you're now is like the things that she hears all the time. Like, oh, remember when you did this? Remember when, who you were, and then like who you were, like, oh, you used to do this and this, and remember when you won that and like did that, and like what you're now is just like, and look at you now. Yeah. Remember when, who you were, what you're now. What you're now isn't like what like you hear. It's like what you're now is like when you're like internalizing this and like thinking it through, like that moment when they were all like, oh, remember when, who you were. I mean, in this song, in the terms of this song, before was, I mean, like, was better. But like, even though you're like technically better now in terms of like what you're doing, the way that you're doing it and like your feeling when doing it was better then. So what you're now is like, it's, how do I say this? So like, remember when, what you're now is what they hear, and then like what you're now is like when you're internalizing this and thinking it through and like looking back and remembering like all the things that you used to do and the way that you used to do them and the like the joy and the fun that you used to doing it. And now it's like I'm still doing it and I'm getting better, but it's like it's not as much as that girl who used to like do it for fun and everywhere and anytime she could. Melted gold, drain the bright light. No, melted gold. It is about like trophies or like medals, and it's like, you know, melted. Like you have to melt the gold to make it into a medal or a trophy. And then drain the bright light. It's like it's burning out, and you're just like giving and giving until it's like draining you to win this thing. And stranded days, medicine's the only friend. It's like when you feel like a little alone and like stranded. And my medicine is not like literally medicine. That's not what I meant. It's like ways of coping, whether it's like avoiding the situation or just like trying to get it out of your head. Just any ways, it's like a coping mechanism. Satisfaction's a fleeting feeling, and yeah, it's just the feeling of like nothing anymore. Drowned in burden with no chance of getting out, and she was perfect. And drowned in burden is like, oh, all these things that you're like you're doing, and like with this weight on your shoulders, like, oh yeah, I have to do this and this and that, and like what if I can't? It's like all the negativity and like all the things, like the burden of having to keep this facade, like you still want to do this even though you know that you do, but you don't really want to do it as much as you used to. With no chance of getting out is because like, you know, maybe you've been doing this for a long time and like you still just gotta get through it and hope that it gets better. And you get less burnt out. And she was perfect. That's the facade being put out there. Perfect, quote unquote. Even though that's to the perceiver. Faith departed, greatness a facade in memoriam, mortality enlarged. Her pedestal crumbling at her feet, she's a dead girl walking. Faith departed. Faith departed was like, yeah, we just got no faith in it anymore. You've given up. The greatness of facade, it's literally in lyric. It's a facade. All this greatness, all this perfect girl, it's just now like a facade. In memoriam, mortality enlarged. I don't remember what I meant by mortality enlarged, but I know what in memoriam meant. So in memoriam is like, oh, the girl that she was is now dead. So rest in peace, in memoriam. Her pedestal crumbling at her feet. It's like the height of how do I say this? Her pedestal is like the pedestal that she used to put herself in, I guess. Yeah, the pedestal that she used to put herself in when she was like doing this and that and like super ambitious and like doing everything she can because this is what she loves. It's not crumbling at her feet because, you know, all that stuff is like starting to just be like in the past and what she used to do, and now she's just like standing there while the ground is crumbling before her. And dead girl walking, I kind of took that from the title of a song. But I did like the way that I like the way that it sounded, and I feel like it matched. Like, she's a dead girl walking because she's just walking around putting up this facade like she was still that girl that died. Rest in peace. Yeah. And then it goes, let her end, true to her, figure out. Is it? Or is it she could pretend fake before they won't allow? One of them. But they come back again. So let's just go with let her end. Let her end, true to her, figure out is more like, let the girl that she was, just leave her behind in the past. And let her try to figure out how to get back on her feet and, you know, find that spark again and be like true to herself and like figure this whole thing out. Just gonna figure this whole thing out. Become like, although it's not gonna be the same as like when before, but it's gonna be something, you know, just as good, just a little different, or maybe a lot different, as long as, you know, she's happy. She could pretend, fake prefer, they won't allow. She could pretend, fake prefer. It's like she could pretend, she's pretending all over all over the place, putting up this facade, and it's like how do I say, what's the word? It's like exaggeration, because like in her head she's just like, oh, this is what everybody prefers, this fake facade that I'm putting out, that's what everybody prefers. And it's like they won't allow me to stop or to change. But that's not really true. It's just like all in your head. But like, if you feel that way, sorry. And then yeah, I feel like, did I find the spark? I think it's starting to get better. You know, the spark is there, sparking. But, you know, sometimes it just feels a little bit like the same, like before. But I think the spark is starting to come back. I like the first verse. I really like the first verse. I think I was really proud of the verse. It's like, she was perfect, dying in a hot tub. She was perfect, dying in a hot tub. What she held so dear to her heart, It shines so bright with her reflection. She starts to bleed. I think that shines so bright with her reflection. She starts to bleed. I think that just sounds really cool. That's why I like it.